All right, so going live in front of a not so live studio audience. That's okay. It's 12:29. I'm going to be talking fairly lightly, but I want to go through this article. It needs to get out there. So the article is from CBC. It's written by Nick Boisvert. CBC News, October 16, 2021. And the title is Canadian Politicians Warn of Political Violence After UK MP is Stabbed to Death. They warn of political violence. Well, what's the indication that there's any political violence coming here? Why would they think such things? Let's see what it says. So, shocked and saddened by the killing of a long-serving British MP on Friday, Canadian politicians say that the threat of a similar incident in Canada appears to be growing. What is this? David Ames, 69, was fatally stabbed at about noon on Friday while meeting with constituents in Leigh-on-Sea, a town about 62 kilometers east of London. The Conservative lawmaker, he's conservative, okay? The Conservative lawmaker had been a member of Parliament for 38 years. So, around long enough that he knew probably Jimmy Savile. The MP who was murdered was doing something that we all do as members of Parliament, said Lisa Raitt, a former Canadian Conservative MP and Cabinet Minister. You're just doing what we all normally do, right? They're painting themselves as these big victims here, okay? So when it's part of your job and a fundamental part of your job, it really shook me up. Well, this happened in England. You're in Canada, right? Like, there was just a president in Haiti that got assassinated, and none of you guys batted an eye at that. But because this conservative lawmaker was stabbed to death in London, or near London, you are shook up. Why is that? I wonder, was it somebody that was, upset about lockdowns and everything that's going on? Like, is that what's going on? Or was it somebody that just finally snapped after all the gaslighting, after all the lockdowns, after all the lies and all the bullcrap, right? The destroying of society. Did someone finally snap? Is that what happened? Did they get what they wanted? Let's see. For Canadian politicians who have faced harassment and threats of violence, Ames' death was a startling reminder of the danger that can come with serving as an elected official. For Canadian politicians who have faced harassment and threats of violence, well, you know what? They've probably gotten a lot of threats of violence and a lot of harassment over the last year, especially. Definitely the last 6 months. And is that right? No, it's not right. But when you walk like a tyrant, talk like a tyrant, act like a tyrant, then you might have people that say some nasty things towards you, or they might have some ill-conceived thoughts about what they would like to do to you. That's just my thought, right? If you're doing something to somebody, like if I'm taking somebody's money, if I'm punching someone in the face, right? Am I going to be upset that they're saying, hey, you're stealing from me, you jerk, right? Am I going to get upset about that? Well, if I'm a narcissistic arsehole, then yeah, I probably would get upset about that, right? I can't believe you're upset at me stealing from you. Now I'm going to beat you. Right? What Justin Trudeau had pebbles thrown at him, right? I mean, that was it's pretty extreme, guys. Should it happen? No, it shouldn't happen. But that's what they want things like this to happen. And the fact is that they're probably wishing that something already happened, but it hasn't. People have, for the main part, kept their cool, right? So they're looking for threats of violence. They're looking for acts of violence. But that's the thing, by keeping everybody shut down and keeping themselves away from the public, right? There hasn't been really any opportunity for anything to be done to them, right? But online, you're going to get everybody who wouldn't say anything in public would say it online, right? Because it's, hey, I'm online. It's my online person. It's not real life. So you're going to have lots of people that would say all kinds of things, right? And again, if you're messing with people, if you're gaslighting people, then you expect to get some back. But this whole article is about gaslighting you, right? That's the whole thing, right? The whole point of this article is to get you mad. And I'm going to continue on here. So news like this, I saw this and it just really hit me in the gut. Really hit me in the gut. Yeah, sure. Like with the way that they always, I was so distraught when I heard the news. Shook me to my core. That's a good one, eh? It's always really believable when they say stuff like that. Michelle Rempel Garner, the Conservative MP from Calgary, Nose Hill. So she talked about one time being out to dinner with her husband and a crazy anti-vaxxer coming in, or somebody like that coming in and harassing them at the table, right? And she didn't like that. She didn't want there to be the ability for public to be able to access her like that. So they see themselves as a ruling class, right? Though they think they are, right? They think they are. They're playing their role and they think that they're gonna, come out on top of this. But that's not what this is all designed for. This is designed for everybody to fall victim one way or the other. So even the people that are serving the agenda will end up falling victim to the agenda. So I don't hate these people, but they do disgust me. Right? If they would repent of this thing that they're doing, there can be forgiveness, right? At any point in time, someone could be forgiven, unless, they're hurting children. Then it's, your conscience has to be pretty seared if you're going to be doing nasty things to kids, right? Hurting kids. So, like Christ said, it'd be better for you to tie a millstone around your neck and toss it into the lake, right? So, police in the UK have arrested a 25-year-old man in connection with Ames' death. In connection. Well, was it him or not? It was done at noontime, broad daylight, when he was meeting with people. So I think it's pretty safe to say that you got your guy, right? With all the CCTV cameras around and whatnot, like, in connection. He has not been identified. In a statement Saturday, the Metropolitan Police in London described the attack as terrorism and said the early investigation has revealed a potential motive linked to Islamist extremism. Islamist extremism. Potential motivation. Right? Not going to identify them. We can't show him. Nope, can't do that. We have to protect him. Counterterrorism officers were leading the investigation. Rempel Garner said she's experienced multiple restaurant instances of public harassment and received a death threat at her office during the summer election campaign. Well, what person of any really public office or, any kind of a star or, celebrity or whatever, or even a YouTube personality, for instance, who hasn't received a death threat, right? Like, death threats are thrown around like the N-word at a Baltimore Ravens football game, right? So she's experienced harassment, received a death threat during her summer election campaign. You mean the one where you guys all said that we're all in this together and that there basically was no difference between you and the Liberal or the NDP or the Green Party? That summer election? She said the political climate in Canada has experienced an escalation of vitriol unlike anything she's seen before in 10 years as an MP. Well, maybe the fact that you guys are coercing everybody to take jabs and locking everybody down and causing the deaths of many elderly and not allowing people to be with their loved ones or see their dying loved ones, or, destroying businesses and, making people lose their jobs and tearing families literally apart and, but hey, safety. There's no inspection or they can't see it. Is that true? I don't think so. I don't think they're that stupid. I think they believe what they're doing, and so they have to kind of put so much blinders on to continue to navigate through it. Some of these people, sure, are definitely evil, and then some of these people, they're just going along for the ride because they think that they're going to be on the winning side, right? That's what a lot of these people are. They're a lot of Renfields. So this last campaign for me, I've never felt so unsafe. Rempel Garner told CBC News. She said the next parliament should do more to ensure the safety of its members. Something has changed, and it has not changed for the good. Yeah, like 2 years of lockdowns. 2 years of this bullcrap. 2 years of wearing a mask, right? Or getting around with not wearing a mask, right? Or getting shots, or trying to avoid getting shots, or having to be cast out of society because you're not going to get any shots, right? Having to decide if you're going to get the booster, right? Yeah. Stress levels are up, mental illness is up, and what they classify as mental illness too, guys. You got to think it's not going to be the mentally. They want to help the ones that just want to be navigated through this. It's the ones that speak out against it. We are the mentally ill ones because, again, we're selfish and we don't care about anybody, and we're all bigots and we're racist and so on and so forth. Even though we are not those things, we are just what they project onto us. And so they want to scapegoat us into being the target of hatred, even though it's people are understanding and they're becoming the target of hatred. People are losing faith in government. And that's the thing, boys and girls. This whole thing is so that you lose faith in your politicians, so that you lose faith in your doctors. You lose faith in basically everybody in a place of authority in society. I mean, that's how you destroy a system. That's how you destroy a country, is have the whole country demoralized. I mean, you think we're demoralized now? Well, we ain't seen nothing yet. When things really start shutting down, that's when we're going to be demoralized. That's when people are going to really fall. Hope everybody can hear me. I see you in there. Oh wait, no, that's zero. That's zero. Okay, so summer election campaign was marred by repeated incidents of violence and vandalism targeting candidates' violence. There wasn't any violence. Violence was that Scalise getting shot at the softball game. That was violence. Okay, violence was any of the riots and protests by BLM and Antifa, right? When they're literally pepper spraying old women and kids and smashing people with bike blocks and burning stuff down and killing people in the streets and shooting people. And that's violence. Okay. Justin Trudeau getting pebbles thrown at him, that is not violence. You can hardly even say it's a joke, right? So vandalism targeting candidates from across the political spectrum. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was pelted with gravel at a campaign stop in London, Ontario, as anti-mask and anti-vaccine protesters doggedly followed his campaign. This smell is bust coming from a mile away. Far-right extremist groups were also said to be more active than in any prior campaign. So by far-right extremists, they mean just anybody who questions the mainline parties, the current climate of our country, right? And just the whole agenda. Anybody that even asks a question, right? Because anybody that isn't asking questions, right, is just kind of going along, they're fine, right? They'll navigate those people, right? And those are the people that we got to get. The people that are just doing it because this, just doing it because that. It's going to come to a point when they're not going to be able to wash their hands of it anymore. So I'm pretty sure that the same groups of the people that were attacking the prime minister on the campaign trail were the same people that were after me on the campaign trail. Or on Paul Gardner's side. Barbara Perry, a criminology professor who studies extremism at Ontario Tech University in Oshawa, Ontario, said that the campaign made it clear that the threat of political violence has become very real in Canada. Again, why? You guys are acting like something just happened and now everybody's angry at us. We don't know what we did. What did we do? The pattern is not new. I think the intensity and the breadth of the problem is different and changing, Mary said. She said that while women and people of color have long faced serious threats, shut up. What does that have to do with what you're talking about? While women and people of color have long faced serious threats of violence in the political sphere, elephants in Africa are going extinct. What? What did that have to do with that? Threats of violence in the political sphere. When? When was the last time a woman or a person of color, a woman of color, was threatened in the political sphere? When did anybody ever say, "Hey, N-word, get that big old behind off that stage"? Never happened. Never happened. "Hey, girlie, shouldn't you be in the kitchen making me a sandwich?" Hasn't happened. Only in TV. Only in fake Fake reality. Reality TV. Your reality is what's on TV. All TV programming is reality TV. Reality programming. Medium is the message. I hope you guys can hear me. I see you out there. Still zero. Right. So she said that while women, the danger appears to be more widespread now. That's because you guys have taken these positions of authority that were given to you by means of equality, right? And then you get in those positions and then you still gripe and complain about things that never really happened before, but want to project it on everybody else today. Unbelievable. It seems as if it has broadened out to represent a risk to virtually anyone who runs for office or holds office now. That's because everybody pretty well that's in office right now is running with the program to save their own hide for their own continuity, right? These people are career politicians. I don't know if it's social media. I don't know what it is, Braid said. She described the shift in tone as an undercurrent of anger and a lack of respect for the job that's being done. How uninformed could you be, right? What a statement to say. They're so ignorant, they have no idea how hard we're working here. We gave ourselves raises during the pandemic as you guys all lost money, as your taxes are raised. But we've been working so hard that we actually gave ourselves a raise with your money. So you have no idea how hard we've worked this whole time to keep you safe. So just shut your stupid hole. Unbelievable lack of respect for the job that's being done. Who do you think you are? Former MP says better security needed at local offices. Raid said she began taking extra safety precautions about halfway through her time in office, which ran from 2008 to 2019. Those precautions included installing a panic button at her constituency office and rearranging the space to create obstacles that would make an attack more difficult. Yeah, I'm sure they got in a team of people and they strategized how to place everything and set everything up so that if need be, she could just friggin' throw the desk over armor plated and she's got the friggin' M4 right underneath the fucking desk and just pulls it out. Obstacles. Rearranging the space to create obstacles that would make an attack more difficult. A panic button. All taxpayer funded. Guaranteed. Who paid for it? Do you think she paid for it out of her pocket? Oh, well, we paid for her salary, so we paid for it. Because, she needed to keep safe in case an attack happened. She said those measures were meant to help protect her staff during visits from very angry people who wanted action immediately. So, did any attack ever happen? So, these very angry people that wanted action immediately showed up, did they? But did they actually, commit to any action immediately? Was there any attack? No, of course there wasn't. They just drum up this fantasy, right? And tell you what they think could happen. And then you believe that that's what happened, even though it never happened, right? they make up a story and they tell it like it happened, even though it never happened. Did it really happen? Oh, no, it didn't happen. But I'm going to tell it like it did. I'm going to set it up as if it did. Make you think that the potential of it happening is there. So telling a lie about it is not that big of a deal because we're worried that it could happen. Lisa Raitt, I'm no longer a sitting MP, but tragedies like this still send a chill through me. Well, what about children dying or being maimed from taking a jab or 2 jabs? Does that send a chill through you? What about the millions of babies killed in the womb? Does that send a chill through you? All of the degeneracy, the mutilation of boys and girls, does that send a chill through you? No. Don't send a chill through you. You couldn't give 2. You couldn't give 2. Conservative MP Sir David, Sky News breaking. Conservative MP Sir David Ames has died after a stabbing attack on East Road in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex. For more on this and other news, visit news.sky.com. Or I should say, news.sky.com. So Raitt said current MPs would be wise to focus on security at their local offices rather than on Parliament Hill, where security is much more robust. Don't worry, we're protected on Parliament. So local offices are going to have their own security details. So they get guns, they get security details, they get protection, they get security cameras, they get the whole shebang, but you can't even own a gun. Right? And if you have a gun, they want to take it away from you. Perry also laid some blame at the feet of political parties and politicians. She said the embrace of attack-style politics may be fueling some of the anger that is now threatening politicians themselves. Well, that's the most honest statement in this whole thing, right? Maybe the politicians who are gaslighting the entire country on both sides, maybe they're fueling some of the anger and the undercurrent that's happening. Maybe not. Maybe that's just too much to think about, though. The parties themselves have escalated the personalization of issues, blaming individual politicians rather than parties or processes, he said. Right? So they've escalated the personalization of issues, blaming individual politicians rather than parties or processes. Right? So they're upset that they get mad at each other because by them saying nasty things to each other, then it paints a target on those politicians' back. And then the crazy plebs, then they act, right? So they don't attack one another because they're all in it together, because they don't want the plebs to then, like pack hyenas, attack, right? Think about that, right? They just want to eliminate that infighting because they think that is fueling you to be upset. Not the things that they're doing, but just because they blame each other and do different things, right? That are opposite to what the other party is doing. So think about that. It's not that they're doing anything wrong, guys. It's because they're blaming one another for not getting things done or the way it's done, right? 2 heads, same coin. Even politicians themselves have to be very careful in their language so as to not enhance kind of polarization that can lead to this sort of hostility and violence. Everything that comes out of their mouth, right, is leading to this sort of hostility and violence, even though there's no violence happening. Hostility, yes. Rhetoric, yes. Right? But there has not been any violence yet. There's been violence amongst the citizenry against each other, but the politicians and those on the uppy up, well, they've been virtually unscathed, right? When in all actuality, it should be them who's getting the worst of all this. Not because I want to see that, but just in reality of the mob, right? You see, what they're doing is they're creating this mob mentality so that when the mob goes off, right, or someone starts popping off, that sends a chain reaction in the mob. And once you get a mob going, right, well, it's pretty hard to control it. Pretty hard to control it. But again, I think a lot of these politicians and stuff, I think they're so out of touch and they just believe in what the agenda is, and they think that they're signing on to the winning team, and so they're not far enough up the rungs to really know what's going on at the top, and that's why they themselves, when the time comes, will be jettisoned and sent to the wolves, because again, not all of them have bunkers and places, islands to go to, right? Some of them, they're just going to be in with everybody else when the collapse happens. So nobody's safe. If you think that you're safe because you think you're on the winning team, the problem is that you're going to be the first ones that are going to be cut down by the mob, right? It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Because where is this all going, guys? And that's the end of the article. See, we've got to be clever as serpents, but peaceful as doves. We can't give in to what they want. They want there to be some kind of domestic disturbance that happens in this country by someone that looks like myself, or a regular old stock Canadian, right? That's what they want. They want somebody to flip their lid and go nuts, or multiple things to happen. But if we act out in violence, we're going to ruin it for everybody. Guaranteed. We've got to see what's down the road and what's at stake. And violence is not the answer. Okay? The Bible says to be angry and sin not. Don't let the sun go down on your anger, on your wrath. Right? We are angry. We are justified in our anger. But how we defeat them is not in violence. Because if we act out in violence, well, then we are going to be made the terrorists. You're going to be made the terrorist. Don't do that. Right? You don't want to act prematurely, because you'll take yourself down and everybody else that's around you. So everybody that's in the know and whatnot and what we're doing, you gotta tighten your game up. We all gotta tighten our game up, right? Can't be fed posting, can't be writing stupid stuff, can't be doing stupid stuff, can't be compromising ourselves, because it risks others. It risks our own family, and it risks others that we might be partnered up with. So we have to understand that we are justified in our anger in what's going on. But we have to look at the bigger picture as well and know that it's not going to go down exactly how we see it. So we have to wait for things to take place. We can watch for it and see when it's coming. So then, right, when the car's coming, you got lots of time to jump out of the way. But if you're not paying attention at all, well, you're going up over the hood, going for a cartwheel, right? But if you're paying attention and you can see that car coming from a ways away, well, you've got the time to move, right? Even if it's right on you and you've only got a few seconds, you still got time, right? So as opposed to someone sees it from, 50 meters away, someone sees it a mile away, right? As long as they've seen it 50 meters away, they got time to get out of the way. So, it's 105. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. This is the Beater Pranskin channel. I can't do anything with my other channel right now, guys. So come over here, and I'll be doing more live streams. And we have our hope in Jesus Christ. That is who we put our hope in. We don't put it in man. We don't put it in any movements, right? There's no one coming to save us, right? Jesus Christ will come back, right? But right now, we're in a situation. And until that day comes, when Christ returns, we have to be keeping ourselves busy, right? We have to be enduring. And we're not going to be enduring if we go to try fight the government, right? Yeah, we're all loaded up and we're all ready to go and stuff, right? And we can defend ourselves and whatnot, but we're not actually going out to fight the police, to fight the government, right? Every other option has to be exhausted first, and they have to bring the heat. Then you are justified. Right now, we're not justified to just act out. So, stay strong. Stay strong in the Lord, brethren, for we're in for a ride. Take care.